Right now, nearly 2/3 of commercial contractors have had a major project postponed or scaled back or just outright canceled in the last 6 months alone.
Yeah, 2/3. It's wild.
It is. I mean, 2/3. If you are running a construction business right now or managing projects, you already know the standard 18-month commercial build is basically dead.
Oh, completely dead. Yeah.
It's routinely dragging out to 2 years or more now. And honestly, it feels like the ground is just constantly shifting under your boots.
Right. It's a fundamental reality shift for the industry. The margin for error has basically just vanished across the board in 2026.
Exactly. And, according to Smart Business Automator's market intelligence report, this isn't just a streak of bad luck hitting, isolated firms.
Yeah, not at all.
It's a full-blown systemic crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission for this deep dive is to map out exactly why this delay crisis is happening. We really need to unpack this compounding effect that's just killing schedules.
It's a chain reaction, really.
Yeah, it's a chain reaction. And more importantly, we want to figure out how the most successful contractors are building fire breaks to stop it. Because you have to stop it.
You do. But, to build a fire break, you kind of have to understand how the fire actually spreads first.
Right.
In commercial construction, a project is almost never derailed by, one massive catastrophic failure, A crane doesn't just fall over.
Thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully. It's really a cascading series of small, seemingly manageable problems that just feed off each other.
Right. It's kind of like a traffic jam on the highway. One person taps their brakes a little too hard.
Yep.
And the person behind them slams on theirs, and suddenly, 3 miles back, there's a complete standstill for absolutely no reason.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. It's phantom braking, but for a multi-million-dollar build.
Exactly.
Let's actually look at the mechanism on a real job site, right? So you start with a localized labor shortage. You're just a few workers short on day one.
Which happens all the time.
All the time. But that means the framing or the foundation work falls, say, a week behind schedule.
Right. But the material deliveries don't know that.
Exactly. The structural steel or the HVAC units, those were scheduled months ago based on that perfect original timeline.
So they just show up?
They arrive. But the site isn't ready, the crew isn't ready to install them, so those materials either sit in the mud, taking up really valuable staging space.
Which is a nightmare.
Total nightmare. Or they get bumped to a later delivery date, and that new date might be long after the crew is actually ready to move on.
Which means now the crew is just sitting idle. They're literally waiting around.
Yeah. And while they wait, your inspection schedules start to slip. You had the city booked for Tuesday, but, you aren't ready.
So you had to cancel.
Right, you cancel. But building departments are incredibly backed up. So getting an inspector back out takes another, 3 weeks?
Wow.
So now the whole site is just frozen?
Yeah, and because the client still expects the keys on the original date, the panic sets in, right? So you authorize overtime to try and catch up.
Which spikes your labor costs instantly. And it breeds worker fatigue. When crews are working 6 or 7 days a week, mistakes happen.
Of course.
Quality fails. That leads to rework, meaning you are now spending premium overtime dollars to tear out and redo work, which pushes the schedule even further back.
That's just a vicious cycle. Every single link makes the next link worse.
Exponentially worse. And this isn't theoretical. There was a recent commercial project that started with a seemingly minor 2-week labor gap.
Just 2 weeks.
Just 2 weeks. It looked annoying, sure, but totally recoverable.
Right.
But because of that exact compounding effect, the material mismatch, the missed inspections, the fatigue-driven rework, that 2-week gap morphed into a 3-month delay.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it cost the contractor $200,000 in unplanned, unrecoverable costs.
$200,000 from a 2-week labor hiccup. That explains why 30% of commercial projects are failing to meet their deadlines right now.
Yeah.
But we have to look at what's causing that initial phantom braking. Why is 2026 the year this is peaking so aggressively?
Well, the heaviest factor by far is the labor crisis. 92% of construction firms report significant difficulty finding qualified workers right now.
92%.
Yeah. And 45% of those firms explicitly state that this specific shortage is the direct cause of their project delays.
Wow. I mean, you rarely see that kind of consensus on anything in this industry. 92% is massive.
It is. And a huge driver here is the demographic cliff. The retirement wave we've been warning everyone about for a decade.
Right, the silver tsunami or whatever they called it.
Exactly. Well, it's peaking right now in 2026. We are losing irreplaceable institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
The veteran site superintendents who can just look at a blueprint and spot a clash before it happens. The master electricians, they're hanging up their hard hats.
So you have fewer hands, and critically, you have less experienced hands.
Exactly.
So that's the internal squeeze. But the external squeeze, the regulatory choke points, they seem to be tightening at the exact same time. Like, permit delays are stretching to 4 months or more in a lot of jurisdictions.
Which is intrinsically tied to that same labor crisis. Building departments are facing their own severe staffing shortages.
By municipal workers.
Yeah, fewer municipal inspectors are processing longer and longer queues of permits.
And if you're working in the federal sector, there's another layer to this. Federal projects now require Buy America compliance.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And just to be absolutely clear to you listening, we aren't taking any sort of political stance on this policy today. We are strictly looking at the operational reality of the timeline impact here.
Exactly.
Because operationally, navigating that compliance is adding 2 to 5 months to project schedules.
It is. It's just an unavoidable reality of the current landscape. And if you look at the macro indicators, construction planning has slipped for the second straight month, according to Dodge.
Right.
And the Project Stress Index, which tracks delayed, abandoned, or paused projects, it ticked up 0.5% to start 2026. So that basically wiped out the slight relief we saw last year.
I want to push back on the permitting issue for a second, though, because I know several cities have implemented these shot clock rules, right, where they legally force the municipality to give you a permit decision within 30 or 45 days.
Right, the shot clocks.
Yeah. If those exist, why is the process still so wildly unpredictable?
Because the shot clock sounds brilliant on paper. But in reality, a commercial build isn't waiting on just one permit. It's a massive web of dependent approvals.
Oh.
So you might get your electrical permit in 30 days because of the shot clock. But if your environmental clearance or your structural review is held up in a totally different department, one that doesn't honor the shot clock, your electrical permit is useless.
Right, because the dependencies are missequenced.
Exactly. Your crews are still sitting idle on the site, regardless of any 30-day mandate on one piece of paper.
Man. So the illness is highly complex and the external factors are incredibly heavy. But, having diagnosed this, it's time for the cure.
It's the fire breaks.
The fire breaks. How do you stop this compounding effect once it is in motion? Let's talk about the operational shifts that the most resilient contractors are using to reclaim their schedules.
So the first shift is completely redefining how we think about schedule contingencies. Historically, project managers would just tack a buffer onto the very end of a project.
Like just a few weeks of slack at the very end, just in case.
Right. But in 2026, that is a recipe for failure. You have to use buffer scheduling, which means building a 15-20% contingency into every single phase of the project.
Okay, so you front load it, like a buffer for site prep, a separate buffer for framing, a separate one for MEP rough-ins.
Exactly. That way, a delay in phase 1 is absorbed by its own specific buffer, and it doesn't instantly cascade into phase 2.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does. And the second shift tackles that permit unpredictability we just talked about. It involves parallel permitting. You really have to submit your permits 60 to 90 days earlier than you traditionally would.
Wait, really? 60 to 90 days earlier?
Well, yes. You submit them even before your design is 100% complete.
This one is fascinating to me. It's almost like preheating the oven while you're still measuring the flour and mixing the batter.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. Like, you might realize you need to adjust the temperature from 350 to 400 later on, but at least the oven is getting hot. You aren't just standing around a cold kitchen waiting to start.
That logic holds up perfectly because when the design is finalized, you will likely have to pay a municipal fee to submit a revision to that initial permit.
Sure.
But the cost of a revision fee is microscopic compared to the cost of your entire crew sitting idle for 2 months waiting on an initial approval.
Preheating the oven with permits totally makes sense. But what about the actual physical ingredients? The materials. You can't decouple thousands of pounds of structural steel from the timeline the same way, right? They take up physical space on the site.
You actually do have to decouple them, just in a different way. You shift into material procurement decoupling, meaning you need to order your long lead items 30 to 60 days earlier than traditional best practices dictate.
Oh, wow.
In the past, contractors heavily relied on just-in-time delivery to avoid storage costs. But today, the math has completely flipped.
Meaning the carrying cost of renting, like a secure yard or a warehouse to store those materials, is now officially cheaper than the delay costs of an idle job site.
Exactly. You are buying certainty. And that philosophy extends to the municipal inspectors, too. You have to utilize rolling inspection scheduling.
Okay, how does that work?
Do not wait until the work is actually done to call the city. Book your inspection windows far in advance based on your projected completion dates.
And what if you finish the phase and you just aren't ready?
You cancel the inspection.
Just cancel it.
Yeah, canceling an inspection is free. But delaying a project because you have to wait 3 weeks for an inspector to find an opening on their calendar, that is devastatingly expensive.
Right. Okay, so redefining how we handle schedules, permits, and materials works brilliantly for the immediate day-to-day survival of a project.
Yeah.
But how do we solve the deeper structural root causes here? Because we are still looking at a fundamental lack of people and a profound lack of visibility across these massive projects.
And that requires stepping back and treating the disease, not just managing the symptoms.
Well, according to Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, there are 2 macro-level solutions separating the contractors who are thriving from the ones who are just surviving out there.
Right.
The first is tackling the labor shortage head-on. But, telling a contractor to build a relationship with a trade school is something they've heard for a decade. How is this actually being executed differently in 2026?
It's no longer just showing up at a job fair with a branded pen. Workforce pipeline partnerships today mean getting to apprentices before they even graduate. The really thriving contractors are doing things like sponsoring students' toolkits, offering paid micro-internships on weekends, and essentially integrating their company culture into the community college curriculum itself.
So you want to be the very first handshake they get long before they hit the open market.
You have to be. Institutional money sees this reality too. BlackRock recently committed $100 million to skilled trades development.
Wow, $100 million.
Yeah. Now, you don't need $100 million, obviously, but you do need a hyper-local, proactive pipeline to replace that retiring 2026 wave.
Which brings us to the visibility issue. We've talked about how delays compound. The ultimate goal is catching that delay at the very first sign of friction, instead of finding out about it 3 weeks later when it's frankly too late.
Exactly.
But human beings simply cannot process the sheer volume of data generated by a commercial job site fast enough to see those invisible connections.
Which is why the industry is shifting hard toward AI-driven project intelligence. Think of traditional project management as driving a car by looking solely in the rearview mirror.
Right.
You only see the traffic jam after you're already sitting in it.
And AI is like the GPS that reroutes you before you even hit the highway.
Exactly the concept. Platforms that provide comprehensive technology for visibility are completely changing the game. Take Smart Business Automator, for example. They handle smart document organization and search by automatically categorizing thousands of photos, plans, permits, and daily reports.
So on a Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., a project manager isn't mindlessly scrolling through 50 emails trying to find the updated spec sheet for the third floor plumbing.
Right.
They just use natural language to search across all the files instantly.
Exactly. And it goes way beyond search. Through automated summaries and generation, the technology can instantly turn really long, rambling field reports and messy meeting transcripts into clean summaries with assigned action items.
Oh, that's huge.
It gives project managers their time back by auto-generating internal updates and executive reports. It even acts as an RFI assistant, drafting responses using historical project context.
Okay, but I have to push back here for a second.
Sure.
The AI isn't in the mud, right? If the drywall sub doesn't show up on a Tuesday, the AI doesn't know until someone tells it. Are we just replacing paper chaos with digital chaos?
It's a fair point.
Like, how does an AI know a project is delayed before the site super does, when the super is standing right there on the actual slab?
Well, the AI isn't physically looking at the slab, but the moment the super logs that the drywall sub is a no-show on their tablet, the AI immediately calculates the ripple effect.
Okay.
The super sees an annoying one-day absence, but the AI instantly cross-references that absence with the delivery schedule and the permit dependencies.
So it connects the dots across department.
Yes, it calculates that pushing the drywall back one day means the delivery of the electrical fixtures next week is going to clash with the revised framing inspection. That is proactive risk and health monitoring in action. It synthesizes weather forecasts, budget variance, and it analyzes how a specific change order will impact the timeline 3 months from now.
That's incredible.
It is. Instead of a human reading a 400-page spec book and trying to remember if the HVAC unit matches the roof load, document intelligence and compliance tools instantly cross-reference the structural engineering PDF with the mechanical supplier's invoice.
So the super is managing the dirt, and the AI is managing the compounding math.
Precisely. And because it relies on custom AI workflows that integrate directly via API with your existing accounting software and ERPs, nobody is doing double data entry.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it acts as a project-aware assistant, giving leadership a holistic view of project health across multiple jobs at once.
That level of visibility sounds incredibly powerful, but does it actually translate to the bottom line? Like when a contractor actually implements buffer scheduling, parallel permitting, and backs it all up with this kind of technological GPS, what are the hard numbers?
The financial recovery is substantial. If we look at a specific case study from Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, they profiled a hypothetical but highly realistic commercial contractor who fully committed to these exact strategies.
I imagine there was some serious internal friction at first, though. Superintendents usually don't love changing how they schedule or, adopting new software.
Oh, the friction was intense. The field teams heavily resisted front-loading the buffers because it felt like they were artificially inflating the schedule.
Right.
And they resisted the AI tools because they assumed it was just executive micromanagement.
Of course they did.
But then they realized the system was actually catching clashes that would have otherwise ruined their weekends.
Once it saved them a Saturday in the mud, they bought in.
Yeah.
So what were the actual results?
Well, by catching delays at the first sign of friction instead of the fifth, this contractor reduced their average project delay from 6 weeks down to just 10 days.
6 weeks to 10 days. That is a massive recovery.
Financially, they saved $150,000 annually just in avoided overtime and emergency mobilization costs.
That's real money.
It is. And when you factor the cost of implementing these proactive scheduling systems against the money saved, they achieved an incredible 8x return on investment on proactive scheduling alone.
An 8x ROI just from being proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the difference between a business that is drowning in 2026 and a business that is scaling.
Absolutely. And it brings up a really important paradigm shift that every contractor needs to wrestle with right now.
Okay, what is it?
If delays, supply chain shocks, and labor gaps are simply the default reality in 2026, if that is just the water we are swimming in right now, then time is no longer just money. Time is your primary competitive moat.
That's a really powerful way to frame it.
You have to ask yourself, is it possible that in today's highly volatile market, mastering the schedule is actually more profitable than mastering the build itself?
Wow. That is a fascinating question to leave you with. If you are listening to this on your way to a site or, sitting in the job trailer looking at a Gantt chart that is already bleeding into the red, remember this. The contractors who are going to win in this environment are the ones who proactively build systems to break the chain before it ever starts.
That's right.
You can't control the labor market.
Yeah.
And you certainly can't control the permit office, but you can control your visibility and your fire breaks. And Smart Business Automator gives you the exact tools to do that.
Absolutely.
If this deep dive gave you a new perspective on how to tackle your schedules, please subscribe to the Scaling Legends podcast, rate us, and leave a review on whatever platform you're listening from right now. Share this with your project managers and your leadership team. And be sure to visit smartbusinessautomator.com to learn more about how you can scale your operations without drowning in administrative work.
Break the chain.
Exactly. The next time you see that first sign of friction, that 2-week labor gap or that delayed material delivery, don't just tap the brakes and wait for the traffic jam to hit. Break the chain. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.